Rugby today. And looking at some of the preseason games, which teams do you think stand out as contenders?
If you're just looking at the South African conference, you would think the Sharks, is the informed team and probably the early favourites in Super Rugby for the title. We've got Jake White that's there, and he's doing fantastic work with the team. And on paper, it's probably the best team in South Africa. They've got a whole host of Springboks in the side. They're looking more settled than in the previous years. And then, of course, we've got the Bulls. They're always up there. I think they've maybe lost a couple of players, senior players from last year. I think it's about 15 players that they've lost. But you will never, I think that they've got all their structures in place that they might be able to pull through to the season. And then you've got the Stormers. They're always there. It just depends on. Yeah.
Their coach, Alistair is probably ranked the best franchise coach in the country, yet they perennially underperform.
Yeah, that's I think the pressure is on Analyst this year to produce the goods. They've in the last 3 years, they've reached 3 semi-finals in the competition. They were crowned South African Conference champions 2 of those years. So it's about time for to get on board and bring in the silverware. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then with regards to the Lions, what do you think? Has Johan Ackerman got it right? Are the guys a bit rusty from being off a whole season away from Super Rugby?
They have an extremely hard task ahead of them. In Super Rugby, you need a lot of depth, to take you through the season because it's such a long season. And I just don't think they have the kind of depth that you need in this competition. And then, a lot of talk is about the Sharks being favourites and the Stormers, but not enough on the Cheetahs. They got into the playoffs. They just lost to the Brumbies in their quarter-final. I think they should also be better this year. There's no reason why they shouldn't be better. There's some continuity in that team, and hopefully they can also pull it through. So I think we're looking at 4 really good South African teams, to challenge for the title this year.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty interesting. Now, here's a quick one. Some people have been talking about Victor Matfield coming back onto the pitch. 2 things. Is this good for him? Is it good for the team? He's 34 years old now, isn't he?
He's 36, turning 37 this year. So
37, even older.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people will say he's too old, too long in the tooth. But he's been training for the last 2 years. He's been active. While a lot of guys had injury layoffs, he had 2 years to kind of rest his body. And the Bulls are looking at Victor Matfield not so much to play such a big playing role, but it's more a mentorship kind of role because they've been depleted in terms of their experience, that they will be calling on someone like that who's got over 100 Super Rugby caps behind him. He won 3 Super Rugby titles with the Bulls, leading them to the titles. So they will really need him to kind of settle the guys, settle the nerves, especially with the youngsters in that side.
Looking at a couple of days ago, we had the South African Rugby Awards, and do you see players like Roscoe Speckman or Skaran Tubeni actually making it into the senior sides for this particular tournament?
Someone like Roscoe Speckman is more and more involved with the 7 side, and he's with the Pumas, and it depends on whether they would come into Super Rugby, But someone like Skaran Tubeni, definitely, we've got some really talented players coming through. At the Sharks in particular, we've got guys like Sbura Sitole coming through. Hopefully, he'll get a more play time.
Apparently, Jake White was quite impressed with what
he was quite impressed, and he even said that he believes that he could be a future Springbok at the outside centre. So there are some really exciting talent coming through. At the Bulls, they've got some of the best talent in the country. For Springbok under 20 guys coming through. So it's really exciting to see what kind of players we'll produce this season.
All right, I've just been signaled that we're running out of time, but very important for me is to also allow our viewers to get to see what the coming fixtures would be. For example, tomorrow we're going to be looking at the fixtures for what to call it. I think it's going to come up on the screen just now for the very first round of the Super Rugby, and then next week we go into round 2. Which of the fixtures, which do you think would be the ones to look out for in the next 2 weeks?
Start tomorrow. The mouth-watering one would be obviously the Sharks and the Bulls. They would be, both sides would like to set some kind of an early marker, and then of course we've got the Cheetahs and the Lions. It would be interesting to see how the Lions compare in Super Rugby, in top flight rugby, and then of course the Australian and the New Zealand conference.
This is when we come into next week and see what's happening. I think one of the bigger ones, we've got the Hurricanes versus Chiefs in round 2 that's coming up, and that's just come up on your screen. Well, yeah, what do you think about that one?
Crusaders Chiefs, that must be the game for that weekend.
Yes.
You know, Chiefs are the defending champions. They've won the title 2 consecutive years, and they must be two of the favourites, also 2 of the title favourites this season. The Cheetahs Bulls will of course be a big one. Blues, looking at the Australian conference, we've got the Brumbies who got into the semi-final last year, and the Reds are always contenders. The Reds, Brumbies, and then the Waratahs, who's playing the Force.
Yes.
They must be the Australia's 3 contenders, and
right.
You know, the word is that, you know, the Waratahs are a very strong team this season, and we can expect quite a lot from them.
All right, that was phenomenal. We really are looking forward to the next 2 weekends of rugby, and we want to thank you very much, Okkert, for having come through to share your thoughts with us, and we hope that you enjoy the viewing.
Thank you for having me.
All right, there you go. That was Okkert de Villiers, a senior sports analyst for SAPA.